Live from the Student Union on campus, this is Goldmine Live. Your weekly all-access pass inside Charlotte Athletics is brought to you by Ortho Carolina. Proud to present the 2018 Charlotte 49ers football season. Bojangles, it's bow time. Harris Teeter, where 49ers fans shop for groceries. University Eye Associates, excellence is eye care. And by Wells Fargo. Charlotte 49er fans, show your pride with a customized Wells Fargo debit card. Stop by your nearest Wells Fargo or visit Wells Fargo Car Design Studio online to learn more. Now, here's your host, the voice of the 49ers, Matt Swearad.
And welcome to Goldmine Live on remote today at Jerry Richardson Stadium, looking down on the site of the victory from 2 nights ago. Matt Swearad off with the Charlotte Knights today as they wrap up the 2018 season. Of course, he'll be back on the call this Saturday when the Charlotte 49ers play host to the App State Mountaineers. I'm Bobby Rosinski filling in for Matt. Al Wallace, of course, back, former Carolina Panther defensive lineman and the head coach of the Charlotte 49ers, Brad Lambert. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well, Bobby. How are you?
Sweating.
Good to see you.
Sweating.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing right now. I've been running around here, but only about 3 minutes late, so I think we pulled that off pretty well. Coach, Saturday night, and look, kind of fits in Saturday night. It was a wild night, to say the least, and just going – first off, like I honestly hadn't really looked at the weather that day, so at 5 o'clock I'm walking back from our tailgate show, and all of a sudden I hear the PA guy go, "Stadium's closed, evacuate." I had to work my way to even get in the stadium so I could get back in to the press box. When were you aware of the weather and the situation we might have on Saturday?
Well, early in the week, Chris Thomason had said something to me, so we kind of talked about it if it came in about 5, what we would do and how we would handle the pregame and what we'd done in the past and things like that. And then on game day, you looked at the weather and there was nothing, so I didn't expect anything on the way over to the stadium. I thought we'd have a normal pregame and all the things that go along with that. But, somewhere in there in that time frame between 3:50 and by the time the first group was going to go out and things like that, all of a sudden the thunderstorms popped up, and so you just had to adjust. We've been through it once before. I thought our administration, whether that's A.J. Luke Jancic, our trainer, Trevor Lambert, our football ops guy from Fordham, Chris Thomason, I thought they just handled the situation really well, kept us informed, kept me involved in the process of how much do you need, coach, and kept the Fordham coach involved. The communication was really good, and just felt like overall everybody handled the situation really well, and because there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, you can't come out with lightning, and we had this happen once before at Wake Forest when we played at Ole Miss, and we had to stay in the locker room for 3 hours before we ever started. And, so it had been around it and how much warm-up do you need and things like that. So I just thought overall everybody handled the situation pretty well, and I thought the kids handled it extremely well because it's hard to get up. You warm up, you stretch, you get on a high, then you're like, okay, we got to go back in and sit down, and how long are we going to sit down, coach? And, I thought the kids handled it really well.
It's such creatures of habits. Coaches, players, that routine, you're going to warm up. When do you get tape? How do you kind of stretch that out for those guys so that they are in that routine and ready to go when you need them to?
Yeah, it was, you just say, hey, look, we need time to do A, B, and C to be ready to play the game. The quarterbacks, the kickers, I think, are real critical in that process. They have to be ready to go. But there's nothing really you can do about it. We've been through it with practice here a few times. We came back yesterday in practice. We had to stay in the locker room a little longer because we had lightning in the area. So our guys are used to being in and out. This is part of being in Charlotte, in North Carolina in August and early September with an evening thunderstorm. So, what's amazing is we've been doing this going on year 6 now, and we haven't had a game where we had a delay. So I don't know if it's Al's fault or not, but
it's the easiest thing I think to put the blame on.
Yeah, there you go. But
when I get close to him, then the biceps scare me. But,
yeah, that's right.
I'll put the blame on from a little bit ways away. Well, as we actually look at the football game, Coach, and of course, you had made the decision. You said, I think you were going to let the guys know on Wednesday of who the quarterback was going to be. You let everyone in the public know on Friday. I don't know if you could ask for anything better than what you got from Chris Reynolds in this game. What was your overall takeaway from Chris?
I thought Chris handled it really well. early he was really nervous. You could tell, which he should have been. It's your first college game, and he didn't know what to expect from the speed of it standpoint. So I thought he handled it extremely well, and he played pretty well for us. And he'll have to continue on that track.
And Victor Tucker, there was obviously a connection there between the two, as Victor, I think, 1 yard shy of setting Austin Duke for a freshman record as far as receiving yards. I mean, I know you've talked a lot about Victor leading up to this game. Is that, like, those two guys an opportunity to work, probably even last year as well, of just getting that connection between those two? Because it seemed special in the first game of the season.
Yeah, I think they obviously been working together, but I was really excited to watch Vic play because he had done that, in the spring and in the August camp. So I was really anxious to watch him play to see how he handled the game, and in game if he was going to be what I thought he was. And he dropped that first pass that I thought he would have had a first down. So kind of after that, he shook it off and really did a nice job, got himself open. He's a very crisp route runner. Good eyes, good hands, all the fundamental things that it takes to play wide receiver. He's a gifted guy. And so, and I thought the corner at Fordham, number 8, I thought was a fabulous player. He's a really, really good player. So he was going against a pretty good player most of the night. And I thought Vic handled the situation really well.
Another big part of that passing game for Chris Reynolds was Benny LeMay out of the backfield on some of those bubble screens. We saw him hit a big one. We know how he's worked on that all offseason, but talk about the receivers and how important they are on the perimeter block for those types of plays.
Huge. On the run plays that break, on the screens that you run, they're really critical. They're game-breaking blocks, and you have to work extremely hard on that, and you have to be selfless as a wide receiver because you got to go downfield and block. Now you can't block below the waist anymore, so you got to stay high and in front. So we're asking those guys to do a lot, not only catch the ball, but I thought Benny did a good job. And for Chris, Benny running the ball, I think, really helped him from a throwing game standpoint. They really started crowding the line of scrimmage on us, and I felt like that opened some stuff up down the field. And if you can run the ball, that always helps you in the throw game. And I think Benny running the ball helped as much as anything.
Yeah, they seemed like they were blitzing a ton, especially on third down. Was that something you expected going into that game, or was that something you had to kind of adjust on the fly?
Yeah, we had to adjust, on the fly because especially early in the game, they really crowded the line of scrimmage, did some new twists, did some things we hadn't seen, which, you prepared your team like, hey, look, there's going to be some things that happen out there that we haven't seen just by the nature of a new coaching staff. So I thought the guys handled it really well. I thought the coaches handled it well, especially at the half. Hey, let's get away from this and get into this and try to run the ball like this, and I think it really helped us. But in the first quarter, they were creating some issues, running some guys through, and I think that was their philosophy. Hey, we're going to stop the run. They probably heard me talk all August about being able to run the ball, so they really tried to load up the box and stop the run.
Yeah, Benny LeMay ending up with 135 yards rushing in this game. AMAC had a nice big solid drive, I think, in the second quarter, getting you down. We saw Calvin Camp there at the end as well. 49ers picking up a season-opening win over Fordham, 34-10. A lot more on that game. And then, of course, the big showdown coming up this Saturday at Jerry Richardson Stadium as the App State Mountaineers come to town after an overtime loss against Penn State. This is Gold Mine Live on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network.
It's the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event. There are only a few days left to take advantage of great deals like 0% financing for 60 months on the built Ford Tough F-150. So hurry and save big on Ford, America's best-selling brand.
During the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event, get 0 for 60 plus $2,800 bonus cash on select F-150s at your Carolina Ford dealer.
And we continue here, Gold Mine Live. Bobby Rosinski filling in for Matt Swearad. Is he again on the call today for the Charlotte Knights in their season finale as they're on the road down in Gwinnett. A long night, Friday night for Matt. I haven't talked to Matt, or excuse me, Saturday night. Of course, called the game, then drove straight here down to Gwinnett for a Sunday afternoon, I think a 1 o'clock game, and then the final game for the Knights coming up today. So we all thought our Knights was long. I don't think it was quite as long as the voice of the 49ers, Matt Swearad, had on Saturday night. A night, again, a victorious night for the Charlotte 49ers, picking up a win 34-10 over Fordham, and spent that first segment, Coach, talking about the offense, but the defense came out in this game outside of the one big play, that the 70-yard touchdown pass there in the second quarter. 4 sacks. I think it was negative rushing yards for Fordham. And that D-line definitely seemed, and while we talk about Fordham blitzing a lot, it seemed like you guys were mainly just 4, maybe 5 sometimes of getting pressure on Fordham.
Yeah, we wanted to get after him a little bit. I thought our front four did a good job of putting pressure on the quarterback. But it all starts with stopping the run, and I thought the guys did a good job of that. And we blitzed some, no question. We tried to get added pressure on the quarterback in certain situations, especially the second half when we knew, hey, we had them in a position where they had to throw the ball. But the one play got out on us. But overall, I just really felt good about where our defense was. I thought they were playing extremely hard. They were always talking about trying to get the ball away, which is good. And then, the number one thing we emphasized in all of spring and fall camp was, the money down situations where it's third down and fourth down. And I thought the kids reacted really well. That getting our defense off the field was critical. And I think on fourth down they were 0 of 5, and then third down, they were 3 of 15 or something like that. So those critical situations, I thought our guys executed pretty well.
Yeah, I got to pull up the time of possession, but I thought that was definitely big time in your guys' favor. And third downs on the offensive side, I know was a major emphasis, and you guys were very successful on Saturday.
Yeah, the guys did a good job, and I thought the 97-yard drive was the real critical drive. We converted, I think, 3 or 4 third downs on that drive, and that was a huge drive that took a long time and really, helped us get all the momentum in the game, I thought. But the offense did a nice job just moving the ball methodical on that drive and then getting points at the end. So they did a good job, but that's point of emphasis is, third down, critical situations, how do we execute? And that'll have to be a trend that continues. We ended turnover margin even. We scored on defense, which was critical. We did give one up on the punt return. Mark got a little – he got doing a little too much, he had the one good return, so I think he was trying to do a little too much. Hey, just focus on the ball. If you have to fair catch it, no problem. But I thought he tried to do a little too much in there, and then we turned it over on the special.
Can that be a momentum swing, though, when you turn it over, but then your defense doesn't allow anything and forces Fordham to settle for 3?
Yeah, adversity always shows up in every game, and we've just hammered our guys on really all adversity is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to do something really special, and I thought the guys held them 3 or less. That's the goal, and the guys went out and said, hey, this is an opportunity for us to do something special here, and I thought the defensive kids really approached it with a great attitude.
Yeah, Coach, talking about special teams, you had Jonathan Cruz, freshman kicker. He comes out, he knocks out, the first couple of kicks. How important is that to make sure you're solid in the kicking game, able to convert those?
Well, it was huge for him. That's why I went ahead and kicked it. There's some situations where you probably go right there, but I really wanted him to get the first kick and get it through the uprights and get a little confidence. He missed the third one, which he didn't really finish the kick, but I thought he had a really good night overall for his first game in college. He was pretty nervous to start the game, which, when you're your first college game, that's a natural thing. You should be nervous. And so I thought he handled it really well. I didn't like the way we punted the ball. We've got to continue to improve from that standpoint. We've got to punt the ball better. They didn't have any return yards, but there was really no opportunity for them. We didn't punt the ball good enough. And we've talked to our guys about that, and we've got to continue to work on that and see who we can evolve as our punter.
Is there any one guy, when we go back to that defensive line, their performance, that you look at as the leader of that bunch, or is it just a group? And you look at Tyreek, Alex on the outside, Timmy Horn, Tyler Fain on the inside.
Yeah, just a bunch of humble guys that want the Niners to win. That's what I love about that group, man. They're real tight. I got to spend a lot of time with them last year because I coached them, and they're just a real energetic, humble, hardworking group. I mean, they're just easy to be around. Just a lot of fun, Tyreek and Alex. I thought Michael Holmes came in off the bench and did some really good things for us at the end. And even Ben Jacks got his first opportunity at some defensive end stuff. And so Johnny Ray come in and spelled him. And then Brian Wallace, as a true freshman, finally he got his feet wet a little bit playing the D-line. And so we had to use him with some injuries in there. And of course, with the new rule, you can just kind of monitor how much he plays. And he's got 3 more games he can play in. It's still a redshirt. We'll see how it goes as we move along. But that group, it's just a good group of people that are fun to be around, and they don't really care who gets the credit. They're trying to make each other better every day.
You talk about that new rule. How much did that factor in when you're up 24 late and you're obviously shuffling some guys in that hadn't played? And is that a major part in your thought process there? If hey, I can get these guys some reps.
Yeah, I think so. You're trying to, and then you create a spreadsheet of, okay, these guys all have a redshirt year left, and so who's played in that game, and you kind of monitor it from that standpoint. But you weren't afraid to put them in because once you played Brian in years past, that was it. He'd had to get hurt to get a red shirt now.
And being at home helps, right? Because travel, you're not bringing as many guys.
It does. It helps being at home. It helps us because we open with 3 at home, so you can dress more guys. It's probably the most we've ever dressed at a home game. We dressed right at 100 guys, and so if you need somebody in a certain situation, like Dylan Overholt played as a true freshman on kickoff. He ran down on. Marquise Watts is a guy that we're using defensively and on special teams. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. And then if a guy gets hurt, you don't have to. You're not stressed out about that situation all the time and doing what's right for the kid and the player and your team. So I just really like that rule, and it allows guys to have a little more freedom. So, and like for our D-line situation, when you got guys hurt, you don't have to leave 2 or 3 guys in there the whole game. You can rest them, and that's the point of the rule is player safety and taking care of guys that play a lot. Like you want to have the ability to get them in and out of the game, and using Brian Wallace gives us a little flexibility. Now, if we can get Nick Martin back this week, I think he'll be back. Dantrell Barkley should be back. So now next game you might not have to use a Brian Wallace, and so you haven't burned his year. So it's just a really good rule.
Goldmine Live continuing here at Jerry Richardson Stadium. If you got a question you want to tweet it in, feel free. You can tweet it in at Bobby Rosinski at 96A Walls. We'll get on the air here with Coach Lambert. Also supposed to be joined by Juwan Foggy a little bit later on. Juwan with the pick 6 late in the game. The lights were out, and he put the lights out on Fordham with that interception return for a touchdown. This is Goldmine Live on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network.
It's the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event. There are only a few days left to take advantage of great deals like 0% financing for 60 months on the built Ford Tough F-150. So hurry and save big on Ford, America's best-selling brand.
During the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event, get 0 for 60 plus $2,800 bonus cash on select F-150s at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Goldmine Live continuing here. Bobby Rosinski filling in for Matt Swerat on this Monday afternoon. Not in the Student Union today. We decided to take the show on location at the Jerry Richardson Stadium. As we look down, saw some coaches running the steps earlier today. Al, you still get into that?
No, not stadium steps. Not at all.
What is the working? I mean, he's still ripped there. Now, this is Mr. Bicep, we were told, voted on by the student athletes of Charlotte, Al. So, what do you do to keep the guns fresh here?
I'm a weightlifter. I lift weights. I do cardio, of course, but I'm in the weight room a whole lot.
And we are joined by Juwan Foggy. Mr. Biceps, is that – I said it on air. That's got to be one of the best awards anybody can be given that honor.
It was one of those, like, wow, it's really an award. They called me out of the banquet and all. I was like, man, come on, let's keep on going with the show.
Was there a trophy at all? Like, there should just be a little bicep there or something that you can, like, put on the mantle at home?
Jeff Gimel tried to make something up, but it didn't work that well.
That would have been a cool thing to do. Well, Juwan Foggy, of course, started as an offensive player, making the switch to defense. Did that make it this year a lot easier for you? I know new coordinators, that might have changed something for you, but knowing it was year 2 for you on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, this year that adjustment was way easier than last year. Last year I was just trying to get on the fly and try to make sure I did my job correctly. But now everything's slower. It's from jump. So the playbook and all, I know everything.
And with Glenn Spencer coming in, how much change really was there for this defense, and specifically for you making that adjustment?
The changes, there was a change. It started on early on, we had to learn the basics, really solidified all of that. And then over time, it just got easier and easier after repetition. And then from my role last year, it's the same out in the open field, apex position. And it's not that much different, but the scheme-wise is different.
Yeah, so I'm a converted wide receiver. Believe it or not, I played wide receiver. I got recruited at Maryland as a wide receiver. The reason I got changed to defense because I couldn't hold on to the ball. We saw you drop one, so you got to bring it up.
I knew it was coming.
You redeemed yourself. So how is it making that play and really putting a cap on this football game?
It was really it's too good to be true at first. Like, the quarterback was eyeing down the receiver. I was like, there's no way he's about to throw this ball. And then I broke, and he threw it at the same time, and it was just boom, boom, and it's a touchdown.
Yeah, great play. Talk about the guys in front of you and how that makes it hopefully easier for you guys to run and hit those gaps in the 4-3 defense.
The up front four, that really caused that play, actually, because we had pressure on the quarterback all night long, and he was panicking. You could tell by the way he was playing, and that helped us as a whole.
Juwan Foggy with us here on Goldmine Live, recapping the first win. Of course, we started the show with Coach Saturday night. Weather delays galore. So for you, what was that process like? Multiple times having to go back into the locker room.
It was just trying to stay focused. Everybody was wanting to get out here and play, and then we having to come back in after just warming up, and then having to go back in and just stay like mentally focused. It was rough, but I'm glad we did a good job as a team, as all being focused and coming out here and getting the job done.
I mean, both those delays, I think about an hour and 15 minutes. So what do you do during that process? What's going on inside the line?
Everybody's just talking around, making sure they still know the plays and know the scheme is going on. And then conversations get off topic. Everybody's just talking and having a good time, but trying to stay locked in and relaxed at the same time.
Al was talking about it. We were just talking during the delay on Saturday night. Just body-wise, what is that challenge? Because I didn't play, but obviously Al did. When you warm up, your body's ready to go, and all of a sudden, stop. You got to chill out for an hour and 15 minutes.
That was the rough part. Like, I had to come in to go to the training room, do extra stuff, like warm my body up and get loose and stay loose, so I can be ready to come out here and play. But it wasn't that bad.
First game, is there any jitters a part of that? How long does it take once that ball snapped for the first time and you feel like it's last year and you're just ready to go hit somebody?
It's usually that first series. After that first series, you come back to the bench, like, all right, we got it over. That's that first series now. Let's play ball. Everybody lock in.
Coach Spencer, what's he like now? First game on the sidelines. What's that demeanor like when you come off the field and deal with Coach?
Coach Spencer, he's like a guru, man. I just try to absorb everything he's saying. Like, he's one of those coaches where when he's talking, he knows what he's talking about, and everybody trusts him. So we all lock in and believe in him.
Your linebacking core, Jeff Gemmel, Anthony Butler, of course, Gemmel, I think he might have had an opportunity, or he had the sack that he could have gotten to get on the get roll, had the chance for the interception after that as well. But you guys were flying all around. Just that group as a whole, how good do you think these linebackers can be?
We have potential to be really good. We're not there yet, but we have that potential to make it to the next level and all play good ball.
A lot of guys returning this year on that defense that played a lot of snaps. How important is it to have a group that's seen a lot of football out there? How does that impact your confidence going into a game like App State this upcoming week?
Yeah, that experience is really big. It actually helped us over the summer. It was like communication and knowing the plays, all knowing where that next person behind you is going to be and where your force, like all your leverage is on plays. That really helped.
Juwan Foggy with us here, Goldmine Live. Mentioned Al did App State. I don't know, did you go back and watch any of the game against Penn State yet? What's been the prep here as you get ready to take on the Mountaineers?
Last night I watched up to the first half. I'm trying to watch the TV copy of the game today. So I already got a little mindset on them.
What's just the talk right now in the locker room, knowing just how big this game is? There's a bunch of extra seats over there. They're there for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for this Saturday. So of just the conversation of going on and knowing that this is it's the first ever matchup, but a rivalry I think people expect to be around here for a long time.
Yeah, in the locker room, everybody's just locked in and saying that this is a big game. Everybody knows that. So we're all trying to make sure we're going to do our part, take day by day. We can't. Saturday's not tomorrow, so we got to take every day and work and win every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, each day matters.
How important is it to this school and this community of Charlotte for you all to go out here and like Bobby said, keep this rivalry going, have a good showing out here against App State?
Oh yeah, this is big. This is real big because everybody sees us as that underdog every game that we line up. So for us to come out here and put up a good fight and win the game, that's going to be real big for the city as a whole, this program, everything.
And, of course, 3 straight home games, winning the first one, App State, and then Old Dominion. The first conference game will be the following week. So a big stretch here for the Charlotte 49ers to kick off this 2018 season. Juwan, appreciate the time as always. Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate y'all. Thank you.
There you go. Juwan Foggy, senior linebacker for the Charlotte 49ers. We'll take a time out. Coach Brad Lambert will join us on the other side. This is Goldmine Live on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network.
It's the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event. There are only a few days left to take advantage of great deals like 0% financing for 60 months on the built Ford Tough F-150. So hurry and save big on Ford, America's best-selling brand.
During the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event, get 0 for 60 plus 2,800 bonus cash on select F-150s at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Goldmine Live continuing here at Jerry Richardson Stadium on this Monday. Charlotte 49ers a victory Monday after knocking off Fordham on a Saturday by the score of 34-10. App State coming into town this Saturday. Same airtime on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network with 5 o'clock with Matt Swearad and Al Wallace. So Walker Mail again down on the sidelines as the Mountaineers come into town. And what we know is a huge game, Coach, and I guess we can jump into that here a little bit. I don't know how much you've been able to see of the App game. Zach Thomas, the new quarterback, taking over for Taylor Lamb, that was there a long time. Looked impressive. Look, you go on the road to Penn State, not going to be easy, and he handled that environment. But any early thoughts that you have on App State?
Yeah, I thought Zach played extremely well when I watched the game. Handled the whole situation. First time starting, following Taylor Lamb, was tough enough in itself, and then you got to go to Penn State on the road. I thought he had a lot of composure, handled the situation really well, and of course they got a great tailback in Moore. They just kind of established that as well. They want to be able to run the ball, and they do a good job of running the ball, and they've got a lot of good players. So nothing's intimidating for them. It's kind of been their program over the years. We've competed against them on the field over the years, and there's no scene too big for them. So I thought, hey, look, this was a really good game for them on the road and had a legitimate shot to win the game. I mean, they did everything to win the game and just came up a little bit short, but had a chance there at the end with the field goal and got just a little bit right. But I think it was long enough when I watched it.
Yeah, 56-yarder, I think, as long as that was. And I know we've talked here in August, and I think you said earlier, this isn't a game you really have to tell your players to get jacked up for. Everyone knows, and we're pulling out Jawan, look, there's extra bleachers over there. They're there for a reason for this game. So what is almost making sure guys aren't too, jacked up for the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I think, it's all going to come back to, I told the team yesterday, you can't get till Saturday. So, let's stay one day at a time. Let's take care of Sunday. That's what we have control of. Today's their day off. So, you just one day at a time. They'll be amped enough come game time. They won't have an issue with that. A lot of the guys played against each other. I mean, they've got guys from Charlotte. We got a lot of North Carolina guys. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity with the guys actually on the field. I think Benny played with Clifton Duck, at Butler. So there'll be a lot of familiarity between players. So I think maintaining your composure during the game will be big. But I think the preparation, as is in every game, the preparation is the key point, when you're out there, so you can perform at your highest level and you're prepared to perform.
Coach, you talk about preparation. Is it going to be anything you're going to do different, to compensate for the noise and prepare for how big this crowd is going to be on Saturday?
No, we do the same we always do, Al. We always try to have noise at practice for our offense. So hopefully our crowd understands that they'll be a little bit less on offense when we're on offense and a little more when we're on defense. That's the thing that I thought App handled really well at Penn State. I mean, you could tell the game was extremely loud when App's offense was out there, and they didn't check up. They didn't have a bunch of false starts or miscommunications. I thought they handled it extremely well. So hopefully our guys, we've done that all August and prepared them for noisy situations, like when we went to Kansas State last year. You're trying to put them in that situation a lot.
You think Kansas State, I'm trying to think back, maybe the largest raucous crowd that they've had to go up against? Louisville, I know there was packed on that.
Yeah, I think so. I think Kansas State was probably the loudest. It was the closest, really on top of you. Kentucky, we played there, but it was
cold.
It was so cold and snowing, and like a lot of people there didn't show up. But Louisville was a very intense crowd, no doubt. But I think Kansas State probably for our guys has been the biggest so far.
I just remember watching the student section. It was like an hour and a half before kick, and they were all rolling, getting going. That was an impressive environment there. Of course, all about the environment there at K-State. For you, look, a bunch of new coaches that were a part of this. How did that communication work on Saturday for the first time?
I was really pleased with it. I thought the communication on the sideline, I thought the way the coaches handled it, the players handled it was really good. And special teams Charlie, Coach Skolaski was up top. It was more kind of like the 2016 season when Coach Hood was running the special teams from the box and would communicate to me, and I made a lot of those calls during the game. So I thought that went well. I thought, substitution-wise, I thought the guys did a good job. We had to use one timeout there in the first half that wasn't real happy about, but sometimes you have to do that. You get some communication and had the wrong personnel in the game. But I thought as a whole it was really good.
Coach, a pretty clean game. Also, not a lot of penalties, not a lot of those mental mistakes as far as that's concerned. How do you continue that trend going into next week?
We made a big deal with our guys because I thought that hurt us last year at Eastern Michigan in the first half. We made a big deal of penalties and unforced errors, what we call gifts. You don't want to give them anything. And I thought last year in the opening game, we didn't do a very good job of that. So we made a big deal of that in August and talked to our guys, about how to, you got to keep your composure. You can't have 15-yard penalties. Cam got an early holding penalty, but really was a result of the scramble. Chris took off, and sometimes when a guy scrambles, a quarterback scrambles, a tackle will just be working, and he'll grab a defensive lineman sometimes who's trying to get away, who normally wouldn't if he hadn't left the pocket. So didn't worry about that one too much, but I thought our guys handled it pretty good.
Looking back on the offense and on the ground with Benny, and mentioned that drive earlier, I believe we did find it was the longest drive in team history, over about 8.5 minutes. I think the previous record was around 7:45 or so. For Benny, 25 carries, 135 yards. Is he a guy that he needs to get fed more, and the more as the game goes, he gets stronger, or does that factor in at all as you look at trying to get carries out?
No, I think that's a pretty good number for him. I felt like he was running the ball really well in the second half. I thought we controlled the line of scrimmage in the second half. We kind of got it under control, and then Ben has a chance to make some things happen once he gets past that first level, and he was running extremely hard, and so I think as the game goes along, that's kind of who he is. So we've got to continue to build on that, but we want to get AMAC in the game, and I thought Calvin Camp did some good things when he got in the game, and even Keyshawn, our fourth tailback, I thought he ran extremely hard there at the end of the game. So we've got some pretty good depth there that I feel good about, but we want to get, we want Benny involved in the game a lot.
So many different running backs, all with different skill sets. Is it something you work with the offensive lineman, Coach Selfo, on sustaining those blocks? Because are there different plays that you would like to see each one of those guys?
Yeah, they get a little tough on them now because they are different backs, and a guy like Calvin's really good out of the backfield. I really was pleased with the way he ran the ball, when he got in the game. So it does get a little tough on him, but sometimes you do run some different plays with different guys in the game, and we like to get Calvin in space if we can because he's a pretty athletic guy.
For AMAC, was that is it Benny, hey, I'm going to come out as a series? Because it seemed like AMAC came out, it was the third or fourth drive, and it was basically him that entire drive. Is that just game plan to give him an opportunity? Yeah,
we want to get him in, give him a drive, and then sometimes Benny will come out. He'll take himself out if he needs to get a blow. On that long drive, we just left him in there and let him work. He seemed to handle it okay. But, yeah, we want to get AMAC a drive in there, so there'll be a series in there where we just let AMAC take it, see how it's going, because we feel good about him playing, and that gets some reps off of Benny. It's a long season, and those guys get hit a lot, so you got to take care of them.
Goldmine Live continuing here from Jerry Richardson Stadium. The Charlotte 49ers taking on App State on a Saturday. Again, coverage starts at 5 o'clock on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network. We'll take a timeout. More with Coach next as we continue here. Goldmine Live on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network.
It's the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event. There are only a few days left to take advantage of great deals like 0% financing for 60 months on the built Ford Tough F-150. So hurry and save big on Ford, America's best-selling brand.
During the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event, get 0 for 60 plus $2,800 bonus cash on select F-150s at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Bobby Rosinski filling in for Matt Swear out here on this Monday. It is Goldmine Live, talking Charlotte 49er football here until the top of the hour, alongside former Carolina Panther, Buffalo Bill, Al Wallace with us. He doesn't like me to mention the Bills part of it for some reason, but I'll throw it in there. Brad Lambert, the head coach of the Charlotte 49ers, and we were just talking Coach, there during the break, obviously roster cuts being made throughout the National Football League, but also an off weekend in the NFL, so guys getting to come back. Larry Ogunjobi, one here, of course, playing for the Cleveland Browns. What's it like getting those guys back on campus?
Yeah, it's nice. It's good to see him. We had a lot of former players here last week, and I think we'll have a few this week. The guys, it's good to get them back. We want them back, and it was good to see Larry and Brandon back in town. And, of course, got to talk to Austin. Austin Duke was here at the game. But a lot of guys were here. Thomas LaBianca, a lot of guys that, in that first class. So it's kind of fun for us now. We got former players coming back to the games. You're kind of advancing the program. So it's always good to see those guys.
Yeah, how important is it to have those younger guys that are still in your locker room able to stand next to those guys, pick their brains about the next level, and get some advice on what they're doing out here on Saturdays?
Yeah, it's huge, Al, because, I heard one of the guys say, is that Larry? Oh, is that Larry? You hear the kids, they know, like former guys. And so that's a big deal to have them around, and they can be around our team and talk to the guys. It's really big for us to have guys come back.
I don't know. To have a more perfect guy to look after in Larry Ogunjobi. Just doing sidelines, if there was a guy you're going to talk to, no matter win or loss, you knew Larry was going to be great with you. It just seems like again, if you're going to create a human being and want him on your football team outside of Al Wallace, Larry Ogunjobi would be that guy.
Yeah, no doubt. He's with that whole class, there was a lot of good guys in that class, and Larry just, I've said it many times about Larry, but he had high goals on the field. He had high goals in the classroom and just attained a lot academically. And he's just he's a fine person that, has accomplished a lot, on the football field, but he's doing well off the field. And we wish him nothing but the best with the Browns.
And now what's that, the player pride, I guess, being a Maryland guy, you go back, obviously Maryland, big win this weekend against Texas that they picked up, but of just when you're around those guys of, hey, let's keep getting this program, and especially for Maryland, kind of back where they want to be.
Well, it's a culture. You become a man in that system. Those coaches kind of raise you up. So to be a part of that culture, to wear those colors, to come back and show that type of pride, and to hand that torch to the next group, it means everything. And that's why you see it across the country. And I know head coaches love that. That's part of your recruiting. That's part of you going out into those homes saying, hey, let us take your son, let us raise him up, and we'll return him in good hands.
Yeah, once a Terp, always a Terp.
That's right.
That's what you want to stay. It's a great thing about our game. And just the whole college football, it just creates that environment, and guys come back and, hey, once a Niner, always a Niner, and it's helped. It's been fun from the perspective of starting a program to watch people come back here that always wanted football and come back to campus and tailgate. And now you have former players, so you talked about that a lot, but now the reality of it is guys are coming back, and what Al's talking about, they can come back and affect not only your team, but the university. Like, they're just ambassadors for your school, and you go out and represent the school in a first-class manner.
Have you gotten used to being a Big Ten guy now?
I'm ACC.
That's how I remember.
Yeah.
Of course, Torrey Smith's in town now.
Yeah.
We had to compete against him, and what a fabulous player. We were at Wake, and he was in the league in the ACC, and man, what a fabulous player he was.
I saw him tweeting about the Maryland game on Saturday, so he was definitely keeping an eye on that. For your football team, Coach, there's some other guys to touch on. One guy, I don't know if I've talked with you about him before, but from Lackawanna College, DJ Anderson, a corner for you with a lot of guys back. Ben DeLuca, we know out there in the special teams, in the DBs with Ed Roll as well. But DJ Anderson, what do you think he brings to this football team?
He's got good length, and he played well in his first game for us. He'll be challenged hard this week with the wide receivers that App have. They'll be a huge challenge. I thought Fordham had pretty good wideouts. Number 3 was beat us deep on a 70-yarder. We had a hard time getting after him. So, but it'll be a huge challenge for DJ this week. But I thought he responded well in his first game out of Lackawanna. So I was proud of him and the way he played. And Denzel, he played well for us. Those are older guys, and so them having the opportunity to go out and play was good. But this will be a huge challenge for our defense and our secondary this week because, Corey Sutton coming back, Dominique Heath transferring in. Hennigan's as good a player as we'll play against. Their wideout crew's really good, and so we'll have a huge challenge this week.
And I always hear you can't coach speed, and Evans had the 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown there at Penn State. Heath was Kansas State, right? And
yes.
Where he came from, speed there as well. So what is that mindset in the secondary, and for Coach Glenn Spencer as well, of trying to contain speed?
Yeah, you got to be on point from a leverage standpoint, on top. You can't let things get away from you because they present a lot of issues with you. You know, they handed the ball to Dominic Heath, against Penn State, and he's outrunning their defense. So they've got a lot of speed. Corey Sutton's a fast guy, transferred back from Kansas State as well. So they've got a lot of speed at the wideout position and the running back position. So they create some issues. And don't sleep on Zach, running the ball. He had some nice runs against Penn State that, scored a touchdown, had a huge third down run. I mean, he has some ability to move the chains with his feet as well. So from a speed standpoint, it'll be pretty fast this Saturday from that side of the ball.
All right, one more segment to go with Brad Lambert as we continue here at Jerry Richardson Stadium at Gold Mine Live. It's the 49ers and the Mountaineers on Saturday with a 6 o'clock kickoff time. Again, 5 o'clock coverage on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network. Locally at 4, myself and Walker Mail will be out at Tailgate Village getting you set for that game. Hopefully no weather this weekend. Haven't looked at it yet, but I'm going to bank on it. Al, if it happens again, man, you're in trouble. That's all I can say. This is Gold Mine Live on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network.
It's the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event. There are only a few days left to take advantage of great deals like 0% financing for 60 months on the built Ford Tough F-150. So hurry and save big on Ford, America's best-selling brand.
During the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event, get 0 for 60 plus $2,800 bonus cash on select F-150s at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Gold Mine Live continuing here from Jerry Richardson Stadium. Bobby Rosinski alongside Al Wallace and the head coach of the Charlotte 49ers, Brad Lambert. The 49ers off to a 1-0 start, knocking off Fordham on a Saturday, 34-10. Again, App State coming into town this Saturday, and a rivalry coach that we've talked about before. I know talking with Jawan and for these players, but when you just think regionally of the importance of this game, not only this year, but we talk, decades down the road of developing this rivalry between the two schools. Yeah,
just the proximity of the two schools. It's a good game to play. It's hard to call something a rivalry when you hadn't played it yet, and we're still in the you're still building your program, and App's been doing it for a long time. I've known Coach Moore for a long time, and all that he accomplished there, and Sparky Woods. I mean, just, a program that's just won a lot of games and made the transition to FBS, and it was real seamless transition. Coach Satterfield's really done a good job. He was playing there when I was at Marshall. So they've been doing it well for a long time, and so we've got our work cut out for us. But just locale, and it's a good game to play, and something we need to look at. How do we extend contracts and things like that. The problem in college football is you schedule so far out, and you get locked in the games, then you're trying to get out of a game, and then buyouts are involved. So it's something that as you move down the road, hopefully we can get another contract and we can extend this thing out.
When you look at your non-conference schedules, is this how you like it? You got the one, Power 5 school with Tennessee later in the year. App State, obviously one of the better outside of the Power 5. Fordham down a level, and then UMass, a team that's definitely been on the rise the last few years.
Yeah, I think it's a good scheduling model. It's the one we kind of adopted when we first came here, with Judy, and we just said, hey, we got to play a money game every year, and then you play an FCS team, and then two group of 5 teams, and that's what we've done. We're fortunate now, I think, with App, Georgia State, Coastal Carolina moving up in the Sun Belt, Georgia Southern, Liberty. Now you have some people in proximity that you can play. We got a series with East Carolina down the road. So I think because of people in our region, we can always have a group of 5 people that our fans can get to the game. Their fans can come to the game. That's why I did this series with Georgia State. It's Charlotte and Atlanta. I think about the Falcons and the Panthers, and so that's kind of what I thought about when we scheduled that series with them. And so you have people around you, but I think that's a good scheduling model. We do have, as we move forward down the road, we do have 2 Power 5s on our schedule as we move in some years. So there'll be some of that as we move forward.
Coach, have you started game planning for this upcoming week and taking a look at the film and seeing what you're going to have to stop against App?
Yeah, no question. You start on Sunday. We got out of here late Saturday night, later than normal. But, we got in Sunday, went hard to work. Coach is in early this morning and going to work. It's what you do, Sunday you kind of correct, get the guys on the field, and then Monday you go really, really deep into what App's doing and how do we have to defend them, how do we have to try to move the ball, and then what affects the special teams piece. So yeah, we're deep in that process now, and then we'll get back on the field on Tuesday, introduce that stuff to the kids, and go from there.
And as you look at App, we've talked about the offensive side, but defensively, you mentioned Clifton Duck, who is a very good corner that's out there. Look, going up against Penn State, one of the toughest tests you can face to start the season. I guess we can start up front when you look at Benny and the success he had. How do you see App State and a D-line that you're going to go up against on Saturday?
Yeah, they're pretty stout down the middle. No pun intended, but their nose guard. Stout, he's from right up the road. We recruited him. He's a heck of a player, and he played really well Saturday. So I think everything down the middle for them is good. They're two inside backers, Flory and Furr, are big physical guys. They can run. And then they got the edge presence with their two outside backers that made a lot of plays for them Saturday. It's a real physical, fast defense. So we're going to have to try to create some plays, but they're going to make it tough on us. They're a good football team. They can run extremely well defensively. So we're going to have to try to find ways to get guys open, whether that's Mark or Vic or Warpay, and then try to find a way to get Benny involved in the game.
And just quickly, Coach, putting a wrap on the first game. I mean, overall, you give it an A, B+. How'd you feel leaving this game against Fordham?
I felt really good. I thought the guys came out with the right intensity level. I think that's the key in an opening game. And I knew there was going to be some adversity, and I knew there was going to be some things that they hadn't seen. And I thought our guys handled the whole situation really well with the delays and with dealing with Fordham.
All right, Brad Lambert, head coach, Charlotte 49ers. Coach, best of luck. We'll talk to you this weekend.
Okay, thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
There you go. Head coach Brad Lambert here in the press box at Jerry Richardson Stadium. For Al Wallace, I'm Bobby Rosinski. Coverage starting on Saturday, 5 o'clock, right here on the Charlotte 49er IMG Sports Network.